So at this point, you've already written your first summary about how Theodore Roosevelt saved football. Well, now that you've written your first summary, and you know that summaries require you to give your audience the big picture, we're going to talk about how to take your summary writing to the next level. So, you know that in your summary you have to give your audience the main points. And that's sometimes difficult to do. Once you've given your reader the main ideas of each section of the article, how do you give them any more information about what the author is saying, and more specifically, how he or she is saying it? So this presentation was created to help you think about why the author provides certain examples or details. And I did this for this summary specifically because product placement in Avergaming is rich with a number of details and examples that the author gives you for very specific reasons. Another reason why I wanted to give you this presentation is because it's difficult sometimes to find the vocabulary to explain what's going on in the article. So, some classifier words that you can use to explain why an author might be giving certain examples are reasons, advantages, problems, solutions, clarifications, objections, etc. So, at this point, what I want you to do is pause the video, go back over your article, Product Placement in Avergaming, and I want you to divide the article into two sections. One list should be called Product Placement, and the other list should be called Avergaming, because the author did a really great job dividing this article into two sections. Once you've done that, make a list of all the examples that the author gives you for product placement, and then give all the examples that the author has given you for Avergaming, and just list them for right now. So now that you've paused the video and created your two lists, I want you to decide which of these examples represent reasons why businesses might use Avergaming, advantages of using Avergaming in product placement in marketing. Does the author point out any problems? If he does he give you any solutions? Are there any clarifications or objections to this practice? Once you've done that, you're ready to move on. So sometimes content doesn't fall neatly into these two categories. Sometimes you need different words or phrases to classify ideas, actions, or objects that the author describes in detail. For example, in product placement, the author gives you a number of disconnected examples. He names many brands that have become cultural icons, and many shows that have promoted a number of brands. The vocabulary that you could use to explain this are classifying words such as processes, experiments, observations, natural resources, behavior, disagreements, and doubts. Of course, there are many other classifier words, but these are just a few to get you started. So, in the beginning of the section labeled product placement, the author gives you a number of his observations. And if you notice, further down the page, he describes product placement as a process. So therefore, in your summary, what you will want to do is you'll want to explain why these observations are important to the author's main point, and then describe the process of product placement and maybe describe what advantages the author sees in using this particular marketing strategy. So, if you look through this article, you'll notice that the author uses some particular words to let you know that he's classifying some of his examples. This is also a really good way to identify the organizational pattern of an article. As you recall, in How Theodore Roosevelt Saved Football, the author organized all of his information into a chronological structure. In the past, football was very dangerous and had many fatalities. Then Theodore Roosevelt changed some of the rules to make it safer. Finally, football is what we know it today. This author does kind of the same thing, but only in particular sections. his organizational patterns are more mixed. For example, we have the past, present, and future of product placement and advergaming, which is indicated to us by certain phrases as back in the day, historically, today, in the present, and the future, which of course is a prediction that the author is making. We also have certain words like product placement is a process. Go through your article and try to highlight or underline words and phrases that track the article's organization, but also that clue you in to when the author is giving you an observation or an advantage, or maybe describing a process. Once you've paused the video and done this, feel free to proceed to the next slide. So I wanted to give you a couple of examples that an author might give you for a certain point. So here we have Americans brush their teeth on arising. We put on pants, suits, or other professional clothes. We eat 3 meals a day. Take a moment to pause and predict exactly what the author might be trying to describe to you. Well, if you said patterns, habits, and behaviors, well then you're right on. That's exactly what the author was trying to give you examples of. Another simple example: style of gait, arm and hand movements, and facial expressions. These are all examples of what? Nonverbal or body language. Absolutely. So this is a very simple way to see how the author is trying to communicate a particular concept to his reader. That's why I wanted you all to do the same thing with your articles, because when you list them and separate them from the rest of the article, it becomes very apparent what the author is attempting to point out. So where do you use classifiers in your summaries? Try to find opportunities where you can use classifiers in your summary writing, because it'll improve them and give your reader more analysis. Once you've done this, it'll become very simple for you to define an author's stance. And we can describe stance as being related to tone and purpose. So previously we talked about tone and purpose, and I want you to try and identify what the author's stance is in product placement and advergaming, because this will help you when you write your attribution sentence that lists not only the author's name and the article's title, but also the main idea, the main point that the author is trying to make. When describing a stance, you can use a number of different words. Here I just gave you a few suggestions. Does the author disagree or agree? Question or assert? Argue or refute? In this case, I think your author agrees with the practice of product placement and advergaming. And furthermore, he asserts that it's the future of marketing. You could say that he argues that product placement and advergaming has changed significantly throughout history and will only continue to do so. Does the author do this in an accurate or a convincing way? Is his writing fascinating or gripping? Is he balanced and objective, or is he biased and one-sided? Does he make a compelling article, or is he critical of the practice of product placement and advergaming? Is he thoughtful or well supported, or is he obvious and unsupported? These are the different kinds of vocabulary you can use when describing a stance. So get out there and write your summary. At this point, I think you all are doing a great job with your summaries. What I've looked over looks really great, and I want you to keep pushing yourself to make summaries even better, even more analytical, and keep striving to give your audience that big picture and avoid those details that can often hang us up. Of course, if you have any questions or if you need anything, you're more than welcome to contact me. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, or even just talk out certain concepts in the article with you. Please let me know if you have any trouble with any of this. I'd be more than happy to help you, and I will see you all again next week.